Welcome to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes, sitting here with David Leavitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore. And you can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200. Or you can always leave an open mic using the WDBO app if you have any other comments during the show. Don't forget to check out their website over at refreshcomputers.net. Or stop at the Refresh Computer Superstore in Longwood at 820 East State Road 434, just 3.5 miles east of I-4 in Longwood. Store hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if you're listening to the show here on Saturday, it means you still have time to stop by. They'll be open until 7 p.m. today. And now for the man himself, David Leavitt.
Thank you, Greg, and thanks everybody for listening to yet another edition of Tech Talk with Refresh Computers. And man, are we, Greg, we're just going AI crazy, huh? Everything AI.
It's the story, right? I mean, it's a tech show, and artificial intelligence is literally getting into everything we do day in and day out, right?
And I have to look back, and when we first talked about ChatGPT, I remember it just came out, and I don't remember how long ago. It's been over a year, I'm sure. But that show, you might want to look it up yourself. You can go to refreshcomputers.net, click on that podcast link. You can hear all the shows we've done in the last over 3 years. And on that show, we introduced this new thing called ChatGPT. And if you hadn't heard of it, you will. So, and I remember those words exactly. And boy, is it something. I mean, it's eating up all the memory, not just ChatGPT, but all of the AI centers going in to do things that ChatGPT does. You know, there's so many different AI tools now.
Yeah, no, and if you remember over the cold snap, there were the power companies asking for folks to use less power because it was putting a strain on the grid. Well, a lot of that has to do with those AI data centers.
The new data centers, and we talked about Elon putting data centers in space, and which is probably going to be the next, according to Elon, it definitely is going to be the next step. You know, he's going to have that out in space within the next 3 years. He says he's going to have data centers in space. So we'll see how that goes. And, you know, so let's go back to some old school technology, which are regular old spinning heavy hard drives. Remember those?
Yeah. As it loads up your data and gets everything running for your computer, and makes some great sounds during the early starting boot ups, right?
That's right. And it's kind of weird talking about old hard drives in contrast to AI, and what's the relationship to old hard drives right now with AI. And the relationship, and the newsy thing today, if you haven't heard already, is the fact that Western Digital, all the companies making hard drives, Western Digital being the biggest one, they still make them. They still make hard drives. But guess what? They have orders now through all of 2026, going into 2027 and 2028, where data centers are buying old-fashioned hard drives because they can't get enough of the solid-state drives because of the chip
I was going to ask, this has to go all the way back to that chip shortage that we've been talking about, right?
Yeah. So, you know, yes, it is true. They still make the old-fashioned hard drive. You know, that's technology going back to the 70s. And so, 40, 50-year, technology, or more than that. And, of course, it's updated now, and they're a lot faster now and a lot more reliable. But you can't get a hard drive now, even if you wanted a hard drive.
And for a lot of people, they honestly they've never had a laptop that's had a hard drive in it.
That's right.
For some people at this point. So can you talk a little bit about what makes up a hard disk drive?
Well, yeah, it's it's more has a physical presence instead of an electronic presence, right? So it's a platter, and it actually spins. And there's a needle that runs across this platter. It's at super fast speeds and reads and writes data onto the drive using that method. And so when solid-state drives came out several years ago, there's no more moving parts. At least, you know what? There's no more moving parts that you can see.
Right.
And this is the thing that really shocks a lot of people, Greg, is the fact that there are moving parts in the solid-state drive. It just happens so fast you can't see it. And the moving parts is digital. So it's reading and writing on these chips, it is physically wearing them down as
those
it goes.
electrons move in and out of their location, right?
So those electrons are moving in and out, and that is something physical going on to those chips that you can't see with the naked eye. And so it's not all just magic. It writes and then, and reads data. It's actually, eventually those solid state drives they wear out themselves. And, years ago when they first came out, they wore out pretty quickly.
That was why there was a rather slow adoption, honestly, early on to move over to those.
People were afraid to use them because, I'm not going to use those. I'm going to lose my data, and which was a valid concern back then. But now, of course, they've gotten a lot better, and they last just so long that, they last longer than hard drives now. So, and that's another thing that, so if you want to upgrade your drive on your computer, it's getting a lot more expensive and a little bit more difficult to do that today because of AI buying up all the chips that power these drives that these drives are made up from. And so, I don't know, especially if you have an old failing drive, you should probably go ahead and bite the bullet now and get that thing updated. And of course, we can help you out with that at Refresh Computers. You can bring it on in if your computer's running a little slow and or maybe a lot slow, and you have some concerns what's going on. We probably need to check out your drive and get that tested, because if it goes, it could lose your data if you're not backing up to the cloud like we've always, we've been preaching for a long time. More important
these days, especially. Now, you talked a little bit about your drive maybe running a little slow. Mm-hmm. I know that's a big concern with hard drives in general. They run slower than what these newer solid state drives run. Do you know of any concerns that maybe they have with AI trying to run on these slower, more antiquated drives?
Well, evidently not, because
they're making the transition, right?
AI companies are buying them up to because they can't get the solid state drives. I would imagine they're probably used for more of data storage. Sure. How, like, if you're using a ChatGPT now or Grok or any of the popular AI formats, it remembers your conversations, right? So you can go back and add to them later, and that kind of thing. So remembering those conversations is part of what goes into the storage, into these hard drives. So maybe, they're used for something like that, I would
almost
imagine.
More like a library than a immediate access kind of thing.
Yeah, it's something that they can refer back to, and that's what they might be using them for. But, it's crazy. We at the Refresh Computers Superstore, we sell refurbished hard drives because they're still very usable.
And I think a lot of people forget that kind of thing. It doesn't necessarily have to get thrown out with the bathwater, right?
It doesn't, no. And if you want, you can put one in a case with a USB cable and just have it as your backup, right? So, for example, a 500 gig hard drive, the old-fashioned hard drives that we refurbish and sell, they're like $20 for 500 gigs. If you want a terabyte, I think they're around $30 or $35 for the 1 terabyte. And you can buy an inexpensive case that we also sell and put these in there. Comes with a USB cable. Use that as a very inexpensive backup, as opposed to, trying to get a solid state drive that you're going to pay a ton of money for. A 1 terabyte solid state drive right now is $200, I think.
Wow. Ooh.
So,
yeah, definitely a cost savings there. I guess some people listening to this might be like, well, I traded in my PC, and are they just using my data on that other hard drive? Can you talk a little bit about the process? That I know that you're very meticulous about this process.
Yeah.
A little bit about the process of wiping that drive before you resell.
That's right. Yeah, we have some special machinery. It's pretty expensive machinery that we bought years ago that we still use, that does what we call a DoD data wipe on the old hard drives, and also on the solid state drives that we get in that needs to be wiped. And so what that does is there's a series of what's called zeros and ones. That's all the hard drive really knows, and it's just how they're formatted is what makes the data work on them. And so there are blank zeros and ones that are, for lack of another word, spit across the hard drive platter that I talked about earlier. And it just goes all over, zeros and then ones, zeros and then ones. And then it goes back and it does it again. So it's just constantly writing blank zeros and ones across the whole platter, where eventually after 3, 4, 5 wipes, the processes, that drive, you can't get anything off that drive. It's just all blank zeros and ones, and there's no recovery of any data that might have been on there. So that's what happens with these drives that get data wiped by us. And so even when customers will turn in their computers, their old computers, when they upgrade to a computer they buy at Refresh Computers, we take your old computer, we recycle it, and we take those drives out, and we do that same data wipe on those drives. And it's safe and secure, and that's the right way to do it.
That goes back to a little bit of what you talked about with your company before, that you have a very green mindset when it comes to reusing these parts and devices, because there's so much waste in the landfill that comes from PC parts that are still reusable. That's
a fact. And when we recycle your computer, my background, I have many years of electronics recycling background as well. So the computer gets completely taken apart and separated. I mean, the motherboards come out, the drives come out, the optical drive, if it has it, like your old DVD drive or CD drives, those come out and get separated. The power supplies come out. Any wire that's inside that machine gets cut up and put into a box for wire that can be reused, eventually, because there's copper in there. And so all that stuff gets separated and sorted for our downstream processors, who take the next step in recycling that material. So that's what we do with the old stuff. And again, any computer or laptop that you upgrade to at Refresh Computer Store, you can bring your old computer or laptop in, and a lot of times we do data transfers and stuff like that on them, and then we can take that old one and have it recycled. Or maybe you just have a garage full, or you have 1 or 2 or whatever of old computers and laptops that you don't know what to do with, and you need to get rid of them, and you want to do it responsibly. Well, I invite you to bring them by the Refresh Computer Superstore there in Longwood. It's 820 East State Road 434, right there in Longwood. It's 3.5 miles east of I-4 as you're coming down I-4, and we can take those in and have them properly recycled for you right there.
And I think that's going to become such an important part of a lot of what moves forward in the computing industry, especially with all these chip shortages we're always seeming to be talking about now, with the continuation of AI dominating the space. I think a lot of those parts are going to become more and more important to reduce, reuse, and recycle, right?
Oh, absolutely they are, and so, we've talked a lot about AI and what AI has been doing. AI has been a topic on every show we've had for the last several weeks, and it's because it's just constantly in the news, and something's changing every day. And there are AI tools out there to make your life easier, and if you aren't using it yet, if you're not using ChatGPT, if you're not using something like Grok for your that's Elon's AI tool, then you need to really get started. You want help doing it? That's one of the things we're there for. Give us a call. Come by the store. We'll show you how to get engaged with it and what you can do, and some of the kinds of things that you can do with ChatGPT or Grok, and educate you on that. We'll give you a quick 10 or 15 minutes. We're not going to charge you for it. And if you keep us there and and having these conversations that go on for quite a while.
Build out a full schedule for an artificial intelligence program.
Then of course. But I'm talking about an introduction to ChatGPT or something like that. Bring your laptop and computer in. We'll download the app for you on your laptop, and you can get you started, and then you'll be amazed what you can do with that, right, Greg? I mean, you use it, right? I mean,
it's a very important tool, and there's right ways and wrong ways to use it.
There's right.
Unfortunately a lot of people that are using it for the wrong ways. We'll talk a little bit more about how you can protect yourself from those wrong ways with some of our tech tips coming up next after the break. You've been listening to Tech Talk right here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Hey there, and welcome back to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Leavitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore. You can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200, or of course you can always leave an open mic using that WDBO app. And now, back to David.
All right. Thanks, Greg. And thanks, everybody, for listening to Tech Talk with Refresh Computers. In the last segment, we talked about, of all things, a hard drive storage. What? They still make hard drives? Yes, they do. And Western Digital announced that they are sold out of hard drives through all of 2026 and probably 2027 and 2028. Because why? Well, for the same reason that there's a RAM shortage and the same reason that there's a solid-state drive shortage. It's the AI data centers buying up all the hard drives now. So anyhow, if you missed any of that segment and want to recap, go to refreshcomputers.net, click on that podcast link in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll be able to hear this show in its entirety. So when we left that last segment, we were talking a little bit about protecting your data. So Here's a very important tip I want you to listen to and pay attention to, because it is important. And I'll tell you why it's important if you don't already know. And that is using passkeys, which are now replacing passwords, right? It's so important to get on the bandwagon with using passkeys. Why? Passwords are outdated, right? And they're constantly stolen. They are. And human beings were never meant to remember 40 passwords anyway, I don't think.
I used to be able to remember phone numbers. I can't even remember those anymore.
Yeah. I mean, because for the longest time, we kept telling people, don't use the same password over and over and over, because that's a sure way of losing your data, getting hacked all across your credit cards and your banks and everything else. Never use the same password. If you're doing that, change. Use a Google password manager. It's like we've also coached people to do. That was the next step. Use a password manager so you can have a different encrypted password for every site that you go to. Don't use the same password. So using a password manager, that helped in that regard. That made you a lot safer. But what happens if, say, you have your laptop, you're out on a road trip. I just came back from a long road trip myself and had my laptop with me. What if my laptop was lost or stolen, and people can get into your laptop because they cracked the password to get into your laptop? Right?
One password to protect all the passwords.
That's right.
And now they've cracked that one. Yep.
So think about if somebody has access to your computer or your laptop, and you use the password manager like Google Passwords to remember all your passwords, guess what? That person's now in every bank account, every credit card account that you save passwords with your password manager, because they have access to your laptop.
And like you said, nobody remembers those 40 passwords, and they're usually random. Yeah. So you don't remember them to get back into your accounts to change your own password if you've got the opportunity still.
So how can you protect yourself against that? And that's where passkeys come into play. So passkeys there's a few different ways that you can use passkeys. It could be Face ID. So if you have a camera on your laptop or on your desktop, use it, just like you do on your iPhone. Just use it, because nobody's going to get in here. I mean, I guess they could, but that would be kind of gross to talk about. Using your face. I mean, you have to be there to use it. Or a fingerprint. So if your laptop has a fingerprint thing on the side, utility, use that fingerprint to get into your computer or your laptop.
Or even your phone. So many of the authenticator apps give you that option to sign in this way with biometrics and then confirm the code or the number that they send you, all those kinds of great things.
Well, I mean, Apple's been moving that direction for a while. Google and Microsoft now, they're both really pushing hard, moving in that direction. And there's another type of passkey that you can use if you don't want to use Face ID or your fingerprint, and that's the physical passkey, like a 4-digit code that you would type in, just like you would in your iPhone. If you don't use Face ID, you can type in the 4-digit code to get in your iPhone. You can set your computer up to do the same thing, so if somebody does hack your password and gets into your computer, they can't go anywhere else unless they know that 4-digit code. So that's another way to use a passkey. So, I think we're just about at the news break, Greg, so we can pick this up when we come back after the break and also talk about a few scams that are out there right now.
It all ties in together, so we'll make sure to bring that back up here in this next segment. You've been listening to Tech Talk right here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Welcome to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Leavitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore. And you can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200. Or, of course, during the show, you can always leave an open mic using that WDBO app. Also, check out their website over at refreshcomputers.net or stop at the Refresh Computer Superstore in Longwood at 820 East State Road 434, just 3.5 miles east of I-4 in Longwood. Store hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if you're listening to the show here on Saturday, it means you still have time to stop by. They'll be open until 7 p.m. today. And now, back to David Leavitt.
All right. Thanks, Greg. And thanks again, everybody, for listening to Tech Talk with Refresh Computers. You know, we talked a lot about hard drives, actually, the old-fashioned physical hard drives that are still being manufactured, but they're sold out the rest of this year because of AI data centers eating them all up. And we also talked about, just before the break, about the importance of using passkeys. And if you missed any of that, you can listen to the show and recap what we were talking about by going to refreshcomputers.net and clicking on that podcast link right there at the top of the page, and you can pick up this conversation right there from the website. Now, back to passkeys. Why it's important is because, I explained earlier, your computer, your laptop gets stolen or lost or whatever, or somebody breaks in and they get your can get into your computer. They break your password to get into your computer. Hopefully you have a password that gets you into your computer, or a passkey. So what's the difference between a passkey and a password? And so let's just talk about that for a little bit before we get into some of these scams that are going on. So, password is what you use to log into different sites everywhere, right? So, and we recommend never use the same password more than once. Use different passwords for every site. And we've always recommended that you use a password manager to help you maintain and manage all your passwords, because you're not going to remember 40 or 50 different passwords. Well, that was all fine and dandy. But until somebody can get into your computer, and now they have access through your password manager to all your sites that you log into.
Everything.
Everything. So how do you help that? How do you prevent that from happening? And that is by introducing a passkey into your system. And if you need help setting up a passkey, come on by the Refresh Computer Superstore. We help people with this all the time. We can help you get your passkey set up so that only you can get into your computer no matter what. No matter what. It is the safest way. And again, Apple is pretty much, they don't force you to do it yet, but it's difficult not to have a passkey on Apple. So the best way I can describe it, I guess, to make it as easy to understand as possible, if you have an iPhone. If you don't have an iPhone, sorry, but probably on an Android phone it's the same, is, when you open up your iPhone, you use Face ID to get into your iPhone, or maybe a 4 or 6 digit code to get into your iPhone. That's a passkey, folks. That's what a passkey is. And you need to do the same thing on your desktop computer or your laptop computer. And if you don't know how, we can help you out with it. Bring it on into the computer store at Refresh Computers at 820 East State Road 434 there in Longwood, and we can help you get that set up.
Just that first layer of protection that's right. separate from all the other protection that you have already set up for all of your accounts that we've talked about here. So, and some of this stuff that people are falling into when it comes to people stealing their passwords or accessing their passkeys and things like that, it's because a lot of these scams that are going on right now, right, David?
Scam text like crazy going on right now. And they look so believable when they come in, complete with logos from where they come in, complete with a fake website that
Right.
looks like the real website, but it's not the real website. You know, some common scams going on right now is, you know, text like your package is delayed, right? You get that text.
The USPS says your package is delayed. Click on this link to find
right.
where it's at.
And so, you know, you should immediately just, you know, delete and report as spam those kinds of texts. You can do that now with your phone. And, you know, fake USPS, FedEx links are in there, you know, and it looks like it might be going to the post office, or it looks like it might be going to FedEx, but it's not. Don't fall for those scams. Of course, you know, toll road scams, especially here in Florida, that have been going on for quite some time. And I don't know, Greg, anybody that did not get the toll road scam in a text.
So many of them. It was. They were bombarding me there for days. It seemed like I was getting multiple of them.
It was so prevalent and so outrageous that that fact alone made it unbelievable. So, yeah. So it's just not going to be happening. You know, you're never going to get text by the toll facilities here in Florida or any other state, you know.
And we've seen some of those popping back up again. I remember last year it was such a big thing, and it's starting back up again. They made a big bust of a Chinese cyber criminal group. They had over $1 billion that they stole in money from these fake toll scams. Well, now it's starting up again after they shut down that operation. Somebody else said, $1 billion? I'd like a piece of that.
Sure.
And they're trying to start it up again. So, yeah, be aware that those are coming back.
It is happening, and you just have to be really careful. You know, of course, you know, we've been preaching for a long time. You know, if you get an email or a text, don't click on anything that you don't recognize. Heck, if you use Facebook, and you know, very few people don't use Facebook today, but if you're using Facebook, inside Facebook there are links that are malicious, and you just have to be careful, you know, and you just don't click on something you don't recognize.
Why is grandma friend requesting me again?
Yeah.
I already have my grandma as a friend on here. Why is there another account? It's usually a fake account. Keep aware of those kinds of things.
And Greg, I've even seen ads pop up on Facebook that were bad actors.
Yeah.
And they
seem legitimate.
And they seem legitimate, and they got through Facebook's filter somehow, and were able to put ads out there and had people click on stuff. And, you know, Facebook finds these out fairly quickly, and they knock them down, but they're out there. And you have to be aware that they're out there. Just because it's on Facebook, don't think it's safe.
Right.
Definitely
no, you see somebody, I've seen them before for, again, Facebook creates and generates these ads specifically towards you. I kept on seeing like 90% off on like golf equipment.
Right.
Because I like to golf. So like 90% off from this high name brand golf equipment. Click here to buy them. I was like, they're not having that sale. So I went
to the website.
To the website.
Yeah.
And there was not that 90% off sale going on, obviously. But again, it's one of those things that if it seems too good to be true, it's probably not true. But if you really want to find out more, just go directly to the source. Don't try and follow these fake links. Go to the real website.
That's right. That's good advice. That's what we tell people all the time. If it looks like something came up with, you know, buy one tire, get 4 free.
Right.
Or get 3 free or whatever. Well, 4 if you want.
4 would be interesting.
You get the spare. And that sounds too good to be true. Well, go to that tire company's website directly. Just type it in directly and just see if it's out there. If it's not, or give them a call, and see if that's happening, because these are the things that go on. And again, these can pop up right from Facebook or Instagram or even X. I mean, they'll just pop up. They get through their filters. And I'm telling you now, don't trust them. I mean, some of you are probably shaking your head because because maybe you got caught
in
one of those
scams.
Don't
feel bad about that.
No,
it happens.
No.
They are doing this very meticulously.
So professional.
And so professionally. That is the thing. It used to be very easy to spot these scams. They were a prince from Nigeria and they want to give you $1 million. Or they were someone that, as you're reading it, there's multiple misspellings or these kinds of things. Well, we talked about the good and bad of AI. Well, a part of the bad of AI is that they've cleaned a lot of these kinds of scams up because of the use of that.
That's exactly right. And, and these scammers, guess what? they use AI too to help them.
They sure have.
And there's a lot of AI, Chat GPT, Grok, and all the ones that they know that too, and they're leery, so they're watching out. But there's still no guarantee that something's not going to slip through, because these scammers always finding a new way to get to you and to steal your money, and that's their end goal, of course. So what do you do if you think that you were scammed? Well, you know what? You can start by giving us a call at the free tech support hotline, which is 407-478-8200. And by the way, if you haven't done so already, write that phone number down. Put it somewhere where you're going to get to it, that you're going to remember where it's at. Sometimes, put it on a sticker and stick the sticker to the back of your computer, because that's when you're going to need it. It's when you're on your computer, or to the bottom of the laptop. That free tech support hotline, 407-478-8200. Or if you're in the Refresh Computer Superstore, or you want to come by and get one, we have stickers pre-printed already. They're like the size of address return labels, so kind of small, but it's got our name and our phone number and our address right there, and the website. And so you can give us a call, and we can go over what you're seeing that you think you may have been scammed. And oftentimes we're going to ask you to come into the store so we can check it out in person. Or sometimes we can remote in to your computer or laptop and check it out that way, so we wouldn't have to bring it all the way in. But the best thing to do, where you would start, is giving us a call at 407-478-8200 if you think you may have been scammed, because sometimes you'll click on something and then realize in a split second, oh, maybe I shouldn't have clicked on that. I wonder if anything happened, and you don't know because you can't see that anything's happening yet. But it's quite possible that you installed some kind of malicious code on your computer without knowing it.
In the background, yep.
And every single time, Greg, we can find that. We will be able to locate it. We'll be able to eradicate it from your computer. Hopefully it's not too late where, they latch onto, photos and files that they're going to make you pay a ransom to get back, because, we're not going to be able to avert their ability to, put a code on your photos and your files. Once they've done that, they've done that. There's no undoing that. But again, you have a safe haven right there at the Refresh Computer Superstore. We've been around for over 25 years now, and there's a reason we've been there so long. And the biggest reason is the trust that we've been able to earn from the general public in the entire Central Florida area. Greg, people come to us from Daytona, they come to us from Kissimmee, they come to us from Tampa. We have Jacksonville customers that'll come down from Jacksonville, and to have us work with and on their computers, because we've been helping them out for so many years, and it's a place they know and trust. Are there other reputable computer stores out there? I'm sure there are. Which ones? I don't really know. All I know is we've been around for over 25 years, and you always have a safe haven. We've been doing this radio show for 18 years, I want to say, and so we're known in the public, and we've been around for a while. So again, I'll say that free tech support hotline again in case you didn't write it down. Hopefully you had a chance to go grab a pen. But here it is, 407-478-8200. So we do a lot of things besides helping you figure out if you've been scammed, of course, because we're a full-blown computer store. We have hundreds and hundreds of computers and laptops on display in the store, and computer monitors and all the different accessories and cables. So you can check that out in the store also, or go online at refreshcomputers.net. And you can see our entire inventory right there.
It's a live inventory, by the way,
live
as well. So if it's on the website, it's available.
It's in stock. And, once we sell that computer or laptop in the store, guess what? It's removed from the website. So it's, it's a pretty handy tool to have right there. You can sort by all different types of things that you want to sort by, what size storage that you want, how much RAM you want. You can sort by all those things in the different categories there, and it can, you can narrow it down because there's literally hundreds and hundreds of computers and laptops shown on the website because we have them in stock. So, and don't forget, we also repair just about any kind of computer or laptop there is. We do screen replacements. DC jack replacements is a very common thing that we repair on laptops where people leave their power cord plugged in, they trip over it, or the dog knocked it down.
Sure.
Something like that.
My toddler knocked it down. I've had that repair done before.
Yeah. So we can repair those DC jacks. Sometimes it requires replacing the whole motherboard, depending on if you have a consumer version or a business class laptop. Usually the business class laptops, you can replace the DC jack. Consumer version laptops, got to replace that whole motherboard sometimes.
And that's just a portion of some of the great things that you can have done at the Refresh Computer Superstore repairs. We'll have a recap of this great show you've been listening to here, Tech Talk on WDBO, 107.3 FM and AM 580. Welcome back to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Leavitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore. You can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200, or you can always check out their website over at refreshcomputers.net. And now, the man himself, David Leavitt.
All right. Thanks, Greg, and thanks, everybody, for listening to Tech Talk with Refresh Computers. Today's show, we talked a lot about AI again and why they're buying up the old-fashioned hard drives. Now, you can't even buy a hard drive, hardly. Yes, they still make those hard drives, Western Digital being the largest manufacturer, but Western Digital also announcing that they are out of hard drives for the rest of 2026 and probably 27 and 28 also, because the AI data centers are buying them all up. And the reason the AI data centers are buying them up is because they can't find the chips
They're
to buy.
Running out of places to store everything.
Yes, and they need more storage. Why do they need more storage? It's for the reasons that we're telling you. Is because you're using these chat GPTs. More and more people are using the AI tools, and guess what? That's making more and more demand. And I'm telling you, Greg, they can hardly keep up. Yep. I mean, even the huge mega companies like ChatGPT and Grok from Elon, they can hardly keep up with the storage requirements they need today to run their AI platforms. And that's why every once in a while, you're going to use ChatGPT today or Grok, and you're going to see it delayed quite a while. And it'll just sit there, thinking. Sometimes it just times out. And if you ever wonder, why is it doing that? Why has that happened? It's because they're out of memory.
There was not a slot for you at that time.
There's not at that given time. There's too many people using the system, and they just can't keep up. So, this is going to be a continuing problem, I predict, and it's going to even get worse as time goes on until they can get more AI data centers built, because there's only so much to go around.
We had that big jump from hard disk drives that now we're going backwards to. We talked about hard disk drives and then to the solid state drives. What do you think is that next step that could be taken? Because there's obviously going to have to be something done to take care of this immense amount of data that's now being supplied. Well,
and we're years away from a good solution. And I think Elon, being Elon, I want to trust what he is saying, that in the next, but within 3 years, he's going to have data centers in space. He's already applied with the what agency is it? The Federal Aviation Administration.
I believe
FAA.
That's correct. Yeah.
And for permission to put 1 million satellites in space. And the reason is so that he can not just put more Starlink satellites up there, which he also plans to do, but to have AI data centers running in space. He already has the design for them. He already knows how they're going to work. He can already manufacture them. He's already got all this stuff worked out, Greg. And so he's waiting on the permission, and then once he gets the permission, he's going to go into production, and then once he gets the production done, he's going to start launching these things up in space, and it's going to happen.
They've already put in the applications here in Florida to increase the amount of launches coming out of the Cape, so that's right. Going to be a big step towards that.
So it's just, so it's going to happen, but, and it's going to be needed. But so we're going to be in this period because we've all, well, not all of us, but, most of us, I would say, have become used to using AI now, using a chat GPT instead of, a Google search, right? And using Grok for the same things to help you with your daily tasks. I mean, the things that it can do it's just mind blowing. And it's so much so. And you look at the medical community, you look at just about any kind of industry, every industry out there is using AI. So you're looking at billions of people using it. And then now you can maybe help understand why they're running out of memory and why they're buying up all this memory and these chips to make the memory and the storage space in order to keep running AI tools. I mean, everything's affected, Greg. Everything. Just imagine everything. From when you go to the doctor, when you drive your car. I mean, use your phone. Anything that you do is affected by AI now. It just is. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's going to be, we're going to go leaps and bounds beyond what we have ever imagined, even still in my lifetime, of what can be accomplished in the medical world, especially, is what I'm looking forward to. So anyhow, folks, we're out of time, and I really appreciate you listening to Tech Talk with Refresh Computers. Don't forget, you can check the podcast out at going to refreshcomputers.net. This is David Leavitt signing off for this week. We'll be talking next week about some more interesting stuff.